On As You Learn, there's an outline for the exam. There's an exam this week over 7, 8, and 9. It's in 2 parts, just like the other ones. The in-class portion is Friday, and the take-home is due on Sunday. This talks about everything we've covered in 7, 8, and 9. The in-class portion, there's 6 problems, 2 where you just take the derivative, and then 4 applied problems. I put up under my math lab, it'll say practice for in-class portion, exam 3. It's not for a grade, but the problems are very similar. The 2 derivatives are number 1 and 3. And then the 4 applied problems are 2, 4, and 6. Number 5, we've already done that one in class. And it's more of a profit problem. So I made one similar to go over instead of number 5 on my math lab. It's more set up like this problem. Not that that one's not good practice, but this is a little closer. The take-home portion has 8 problems on it, and they're similar to the practice problems. It'll say on my math lab practice take-home portion, exam 3. And so those, I think it's 6 problems, and then these 2. And so we'll go over them. I want to do everything hopefully from the in-class today. And then I'll do these 2 first thing next class if we don't have time today. And then the my math lab ones. So this one first. Yeah, we'll do this one. Marginal profit, instantaneous rate of change, slope of the tangent line, they all mean take the derivative. So for marginal profit, we take the derivative. Taking the derivative, we multiply and then subtract 1. 3 times a -1 is a -3x. And when we subtract 1, we get squared. 2 times 10 is 20x. Subtracting 1, it's x to the first. And this is a 1 times 12 is a -12. And then it would be x to the 0, which drops off. Any questions on that part? You find the critical numbers, you take your derivative and set it equal to 0. This one is not factorable, so we'll have to use the quadratic formula. I don't think it's factorable. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. All over 2 times a. It says round to a whole number. Oh, it is a perfect square root. Square root of 256 is a negative 16. Well, you want the negative and the positive. It should be positive. Any questions on that part? So this is our marginal profit. This is our two critical numbers. Any questions? Find the number of boxes of candy that should be sold in order to produce a maximum profit. And what is the maximum profit? If the company must sell at least 200 boxes, to 900 boxes. X was in hundreds, so you want to be careful when units are changed. Total profit was in tens of dollars. If boxes is in hundreds, X is 2 to 9. So we want to maximize our profit. And our profit equation was the -3, it was a negative x cubed plus 10x squared minus 12x. Look where your derivative is and take the one before. This is telling you where there's highs and lows, but then to find those y values, you plug into the original. And we want to use 2 and 9. And then you use your critical numbers that fall between 2 and 9. So even though 6 and 1 is a critical value, we can only have X between 2 and 9 because they have to go between 200 boxes to 900 boxes. This would only be 100. So we don't use that value, we only use the 6. Any questions on that part? Now you want to plug these in. If you want to use, if you have a TI-83 or 4, you can use it. You could also use a Desmos. Use Desmos. you go to the plus sign and you open table. And then up here, instead of y1, you put your equation and you'll use x1s because this says x1. So it would be a negative x1 cubed plus 10x1 squared minus 12x1. So you will have to show the table on the test, but you can use Desmos to get it, and you just put your x values. So we want 2, 6, and 9. So we have 8, 72, and a negative 27. Any questions on that? We wanted to maximize, so you want the largest Y value. And profit was in tens of dollars. Maximum profit of 72 times 10, $720 when 6 and X is in hundreds, so 600 boxes of candy are sold. So there's one similar to that on the test. Any questions on that? The other problems all come from the MyMathLab in-class portion, exam 3, not for a grade. So it's the first one. This is one where it'll just say to take the derivative. But in order to take the derivative of, yeah, X 100 boxes, and so we multiply by 100. And the same thing with the money. Profit was in tens of dollars, so we multiply by 10. Any questions on that? Yeah, so you do want to be careful of that, but I think I actually, like, I wrote it like this on the test, but then I said, like, which means 2 is less than or equal to X is less than or equal to 9. That way, because I didn't want you to get messed up on it, but I did want to make sure you understood it also. So I did something like that. This one, it's just a derivative. It'll just say take the derivative. But what you have to remember is when you have a square root, you have to rewrite it. And it's a fractional exponent. So to rewrite it, it would be 10x to the 1/2. This is a square root, so the denominator's 2. I'm just going to rewrite the other one. It will also say to keep your answers in fraction form. No decimals. 1/2 times 10 or half of 10, because remember to take the derivative, you multiply. That would be 5x, and then when we subtract 1, we get a negative 1/2. 2/5 times 3 is 6/5 x. Subtracting 1, I get negative 3/5. And that's all you have to do. Just take the derivative. Any questions on that one? Find all the values of x where the tangent line to the function f of x equals x cubed minus 8x squared minus 5x plus 2 is horizontal. Slope of the tangent line, take the derivative. They want to know where the graph is horizontal. That's when your slope is 0 of the tangent line, because that's where your highs and lows are. So to find the slope of the tangent line, you take the or where it's horizontal, you take the derivative and then set it equal to 0. So we need to take the derivative. And then set it equal to 0, which doesn't look like this one is factorable either. The ones on the test are factorable. Now you can use the quadratic formula. Or if you have a TI 83 or 84, you could download the quadratic formula, just YouTube it. Also, I don't have a open. On As You Learn, it's gonna make me go through the whole sign in. Oh, there we go. I have a link where you can get a 90-day free trial. So you could use the TI 84. If you use Desmos, all you're doing, type in your derivative. So we would type in our derivative, y equals 3x squared minus 16x. And then you want the 2 intercepts. Negative. You could have done this for the last one that we did, the first one we did with the quadratic formula also. But it's where it hits the x-axis because we're setting it equal to 0. So it's another way of doing it. You could have used the quadratic formula also. Now it's also going to ask, what are these values called and why are they important? Well, when you take the derivative and set it equal to 0, those are called your critical numbers. And they tell us where there's a high or a low or a max or min. So they tell us where there's a relative max or min. Any questions on that? Use the product rule to find the derivative of the following. So remember, product rule. Let me write it down first. For product rule, we break it into the first one and times the second one. And you can have a formula sheet, and it would be first times the derivative of the second plus the second times the derivative of the first. Because this is addition, it could go either way. You could do second times the derivative of the first plus the first times the derivative of the second, either way. The way I have it written, I would write the first y to the -1 plus y to the -2. Now the derivative of this, we multiply and subtract 1. 3 times 2 is a -6y. When I subtract 1, I get a -4. Same signs, so we add them. -4 times a -7 is a positive 28y. Subtracting 1, I get a -5. First times derivative of second, plus the second times the derivative of the first, which would be a -y to the -2. I'm not going to be able to fit it. Minus 2y to the -3. Any questions on that one? Number 4. This one will probably be a fraction because we just did a product rule. So I would do a fraction. We'll do this one. We'll do them both. Find the equation of the tangent line to the graph. So when you're finding the equation, you need a slope and a point. Well, we have a point. We need the slope. So when you're doing the exam, if you're not sure what to do with a problem, you know you're going to need to do the derivative. No. When you take the derivative, you don't have to simplify it. You can stop there. I just want to make sure you know the rule for the derivative and with negative exponents. So yeah, and I'm pretty sure I put do not simplify. I know I did on the take home. When you're finding marginal anything, and then slopes of the tangent line, it's the derivative. Instantaneous rate of change also. So those are the key words. They mean derivative. First, 4x minus 3 times the derivative of the second. What's the derivative of the second? Anyone? What? Yes. Plus the second. What's the derivative of the first? Yes, 4. Any questions on that? Since we need to find the equation of the tangent line, this is our slope. Now, if you do not want to simplify, you can plug 1 in here, or you can distribute and combine everything. But technically, we want the slope when x is 1, because that's the point we were given. 4 times 1 minus 3 times 1. So you don't have to simplify it. If you think you're going to make a careless mistake, just plug it in. Get that out of the way. Then calculate 4 minus 3. Well, you can plug it into your calculator, but 1 times 1 is 1. 6, 24, 25. So this is our slope, and our point is 1, 6. And we know y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Any questions so far? Oh, and I will give you up to 4 points, 1 point for each question that I ask that you answer in the chat. Up to 4 points today and Wednesday. And then we just plug in our slope and our point. Y minus 6 equals 25 times x minus 1. Distribute the 25. And add the 6. Any questions on that? I will definitely ask you to solve it for y, simply because otherwise I could have so many different versions, but solve for y, they're all the same. For the fraction, to find the slope of the tangent line, and then the equation. We need to take the derivative. Remember, this one's top and bottom. It's bottom times the derivative of the top minus the top times the derivative of the bottom all over the bottom squared. Bottom x minus 3. Derivative of the top, 4. Minus the top, 4x plus 1, times the derivative of the bottom, which is just 1, all over the bottom squared. Any questions on that part? So this is the slope of the tangent line. Now we were given an x value, it was 2. It's up to you if you want to simplify the top and then plug 2 in, or just plug the 2 in, but you would plug in x. The bottom is easier if you don't multiply it out, because you just plug in the 2 and then square it. I'm using 2 because that's the point, the x value that was given. 2 minus 3 times 4 minus 2, 4 times 2 plus 1 times 1 all over 2 minus 3 squared. This is going to be a negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. This is 8, 9, negative 9 over negative 1 squared is 1. Now we have our slope and our point. Any questions on that? And we'll plug in y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Y minus a negative 9 equals negative 13 times x minus 2. Distribute the negative 13. I would also, a negative and negative makes this y plus 9 minus 13x plus 26, distributing the negative 13. Subtract the 9. Negative 13x plus 17. So there will be one or the other. I probably did the fraction because the other one with the negative exponents was a product rule. Any questions on that one? So this was number 4. Number 5, we did this one already in class last week, but it's also the one on the test is more like that first problem we did today. So I would study that first problem more, but this would give you good practice. They just don't have you use the endpoints in this one. Suppose that the cost function for a product is given by, 0.003 x cubed plus 6x plus, it's a comma, so 9,365. Yeah, what's a comma? Find the production level. That is the value of X that will produce a minimum average cost. How do we find minimum average cost? Anyone? No one wants extra credit? It was on your last test. Remember, average cost, think about the average. You divide by how many there are, and there's X of them. So you take your cost function and divide by X. We're using the average cost because it says the value that will produce the minimum average cost. And they even put that in the problem. So to find the production level, you need to take your average cost and find its critical numbers. So we take the derivative and set it equal to 0. Bottom times the derivative of the top. 9, so 0.009 x squared plus 6. This was x to the 0, and this is a constant which goes to 0. So bottom times the derivative of the top minus the top times the derivative of the bottom. What's the derivative of the bottom? 1. All over the bottom squared. We're looking for the critical number because the production level is the critical number, which means you have to take the derivative and set it equal to 0. That means we're going to have to simplify the top. Distributing the x, we get 0.009 x cubed plus 6x. Here we're distributing a -1, so negative 0.003 x cubed minus 6x minus 9,365 all over the bottom squared. Combining like terms, the cubes, 9 minus 3, 0.006 x cubed. The 6x's cancel. Okay. So this one here came from the bottom. It was bottom times the derivative of the top minus the top times the derivative of the bottom all over the bottom squared. And so that first x was our bottom. And then the next group is the derivative of the top. Minus the top, and then the derivative of x is just 1. Any other questions on the derivative? So to find the critical number or the production level, you set it equal to 0. Now, when you have a fraction and you want to set it equal to 0, the only way it's going to be 0 is to set the top equal to 0. But if you weren't sure of that, if you set the whole fraction, we want to get rid of this. So we're going to multiply both sides by x squared. That way this cancels. And the top is equal to 0. To solve it, we're going to add this to the other side. Divide by the decimal. Any questions so far? Now, this is cubed. How do we get rid of a cube? Anyone? If we have a squared, we take a square root. A cubed, you can take a cubed root if your calculator has it. But if it doesn't, you take it to its reciprocal. Because if we take 3 times 1/3, it's 3/3 or just 1. So you want to take both of them to the 1/3 power. And if you do that, you get 1. This should be a decimal. 116. So our production level is 116. Any questions on that? Now, I also asked why the production level was important and to find the minimum average cost. To find the minimum average cost, you plug your 116 into your average cost function. Go to where your derivative is and go to the one before. So we're plugging it into the average cost. What this means is we should produce 116 items at a time. That will give us the smallest average cost, $127 each. But if we go with any other amount, it will be more than that per item. So the production level gives you the best price to have them produced at. So it tells you want to produce 116 at a time. Any questions on that? So you need to know why the production level is important and find the minimum average cost. It's important because this tells you what will get you the best price, how many you should produce at a time. Any questions on that? Positive. So that is everything that's on the in-person test. Any questions? See how long it is. That may take time. Is there any questions on the in-class one? The biggest thing is making sure you know your derivatives. You have to be able to do your product rule, quotient rule quickly, so that you can answer the other questions. Any questions? Positive. Okay, if you do not have any questions, I will see you on Wednesday. If you have questions when you're working on them, let me know. But keep practicing them. The biggest thing is being able to do them quickly. Have a nice day.
Happy Halloween.
Thank you.